They say that if you want your startup to start taking off, just take the idea to Shark Tank, and you'll blow up before you know it. Now, that might be true for the people that actually land investments on Shark Tank, but things don't really tend to go that way for people that are rejected.
I'm out.
Well, unless you're Jamie Siminoff. Jamie went to the Sharks with all the hope in the world, thinking that they'd click with his idea and bam, he'd get that little push he needed. But instead, he got a "you're dead to me"
You're dead to me.
from Kevin O'Leary. But that statement ended up being the biggest mistake of Kevin's life. In this video, we're going to take you along on Jamie's journey, from being a hopeful entrepreneur on the Shark Tank floor to being a guest shark with $1 billion in his pocket. The Garage. If you look at most companies that just changed the world, you will notice that for some reason, they all started out in garages. Facebook, Google, and YouTube were all just tiny ideas that were born in a garage. Sure, they flourished into these massive conglomerates that we can't imagine functioning without today. Jamie's company was kind of the same thing, but he wasn't exactly planning on starting that company. What he was working on was just a gardening project instead. Now, Jamie was always an inventor. He was always trying to create little gadgets that could make life a little easier, and the process would get pretty messy too. So he kept his inventing limited to the garage so things wouldn't just spill over into the entire house. The initial creation. One downside of Jamie working in the garage was that he was a little too far away from the doorbell to be able to hear it. Because of that, they'd often miss packages, and visitors would spend a good half an hour outside before one of them noticed someone was at the door. It just wasn't working. His wife asked him to do something to figure it out and get rid of the problem. So he did. Jamie created the Doorbot, a robot doorbell with a camera and two-way communication that would stream whoever was at the door directly to their smartphones. That way, he didn't have to get up to answer the door, and it wouldn't go unanswered either. A win-win situation. It wasn't until he got to use it for a while that he realized that this might just be the product that could change everything. The perfect idea. Even though most inventors try to get the idea first and then create the product, for Jamie, things worked out the totally opposite way. He just invented something, so he'd have peace of mind while he was working on his original idea. However, after that, he realized something. He just invented an upgrade to something that hadn't been upgraded since its original invention. Doorbells had been the same exact way for decades. While the traditional doorbells worked great, the Doorbot was simply that, but better. For Jamie, it was something that he hadn't seen anyone else have or even talk about, so he knew he had something great on his hands. So he decided that he was going to take this idea and run with it. And he ran straight into the sets of Shark Tank. The build-up and the letdown. When Jamie was driving over to Shark Tank, he had already gotten the Doorbot company off the ground. He had done $1 million in sales and could see himself slowly working up the ladder to real success. That, however, also meant that he was racking up a lot of debt. But the Sharks should be able to streamline it all very easily. At least, that's what he thought. In his mind, he was going in with an ingenious invention. The Sharks had to be excited about it too. After all, they were some of the smartest minds in the world of investment. They were the right people to go to. But when he got there, only shock was waiting for him. He set up the perfect pitch and told the Sharks everything he thought they needed to jump on board. But instead, they all said, "I'm out," one by one. Well, not all of them. Kevin actually gave him an offer, a $700,000 loan, 10% of all shares until the loan was paid off, and then 7% royalty on all future sales for life, and 5% of the company's equity. This was an offer that Jamie didn't really vibe with, so he chose to take the high road for himself and declined Kevin's offer. This is also where he got the "you're dead to me."
When I say you're dead to me, because you don't want to take my offer.
Quite crass for a sane decision. The aftermath. When Jamie walked on the sets of Shark Tank, he went in with the thought that all of his troubles were going to dissipate going forward. He was that confident. On the way back, he was heartbroken. Now, the thing is, Despite all of that, Jamie knew that he had made the right call for his company. But even then, walking away from the only offer on Shark Tank is hard. And with all the debt he was under, it just meant that he had to take all of those feelings and use them as fuel to propel himself to making Doorbot from a garage project to a household name. So he got to work. Not all bad. Generally, when you fail at something in life, the common reaction is to at least wallow in that feeling for a while and then slowly get over it. While Jamie did have the time between the initial filming and the airing, nothing could prepare him for what was about to come next. Even though the public humiliation of being rejected on the show was a lot, he didn't realize there would be a silver lining. All publicity is good publicity. That's something you learn only after you have to deal with your first bad publicity situation. After the episode went live, there were people that were making fun of him. On the flip side, word got out about Doorbot, and all of the people that felt like the product was the right fit for them started placing their orders. Throughout the airing of Shark Tank, the company made an extra $5 million. All of that was enough to put Doorbot on the map. Soon after, Jamie was able to raise $209 million in investments, and it was clear that his company couldn't be stopped, and that his doorbells were gonna be the next best thing. Rebranding. Now, you might be wondering, if Doorbot got as big as we're talking about here, you'd have heard about it at least once. The thing is, you have, just not by that name. After the surge of interviews, Jamie was able to improve and expand on his initial design, and once he did, he rebranded from Doorbot to Ring. Yep, the Ring doorbells that everyone has nowadays. Those are the doorbells that the Sharks rejected on the show. Ring was a name that Jamie landed on after careful consideration about where he wanted his company to be in the future. What was the goal? Well, he wanted each neighborhood to have its own little ring of protection. With more and more houses on each block having Ring doorbells, there was essentially 24/7 surveillance throughout the place done by the actual residents themselves. After doing a study with the LAPD, Jamie found that having only a few Ring doorbells around one neighborhood brought the local crime rate down by 50%. Not only did the Ring help the person on whose door it was installed, but with the sharing features, entire neighborhoods can band together and watch out for one another. If one person sees something shady, they can inform everyone about the neighborhood plan and come together to subdue that threat. It's the true example of the eyes and ears of the entire area. The big step. After everything Jamie had been through, it was clear that happier days were ahead. But even he wasn't expecting what was going to come next. Amazon. In 2019, Amazon bought Ring for an insane, unbelievable price of $1 billion. Overnight, Jamie went from being the guy that people still remembered as the reject from Shark Tank to someone so successful that he went back on the show as a guest shark. Jamie is a true example of believing in yourself. He didn't even know he was starting a $1 billion company when he made the first doorbell in his garage. Yet, he took that idea and stood in front of some of the most powerful business people in the world and still made sure that he put himself and his company first. And with it, took his company to actual great levels of success that he might not have been able to do so with a shark backing him up. And on that note, we'll wrap up today's video. What part about Jamie's journey did you find the most shocking? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this. We'll see you in the next one.